Am I the asshole for being racist to my son's girlfriend? I, 39M, have a son, 17M, who recently got a girlfriend. His girlfriend is black and a very nice, kind and beautiful young lady. I have met her and invited her for dinner and family events plenty of times, and she's a joy to be around. But recently my mother has been staying with us because she is recovering from a surgery she had and she's going on 70 years old, so she can't do much on her own. Long story short, my mother is a classic racist and being a raging narcissist, and she is not one to hold back from her opinions. I showed her a photo of my son and his girlfriend and she went on a 2-hour rant about bloodlines and kept saying they don't look right, and when I said she was coming to dinner she said doesn't want the girl near her because it'll disturb her, so last minute I told her she could not come. My son has been trying to invite his girlfriend over every day since, but I said no multiple times due to his grandmother being here and her saying she doesn't want her near her. I just don't want any problems. But he argues that I am being a complacent racist by even allowing her to be here. And even more so for not allowing her to come over to protect a racist. He says I should have told her to leave the moment my mother said all that stuff. But my mother is an elderly woman who can hardly make it on her own as it is. Definitely much harder after surgery. Though I don't agree with her, I can just leave her to fend for herself. I literally do not know what to do. My wife says my son is right about me being complacent, but of course she'd agree because her and my mother don't get along well. I know I am not a damned racist. But now everyone is saying I am aiding one by taking my mother's side. So am I the asshole? Edit. Hello everyone, last night I posted this after me and my son argued over this all day and my wife is giving me the silent treatment. I can really reply to anyone because the moderators locked this post. I woke up this morning with thousands of notifications. I just posted this thinking maybe 20 people would reply. The messages and comments are overwhelming. But I will answer everything as best as I can. Firstly, no, I cannot afford to put my mother in a home. I'm not rich and I'm not poor, but I do have 3 children I need to provide for and my wife. The savings I have I won't spend on anything but their college funds. And my mother definitely doesn't have the money to afford those homes. She lives by herself, with me and younger my sister occasionally going over a few times a week to help her. This situation is just special because she had benign tumor removed. If I could have, I would have had her stay with my sister, but my sister is pregnant and very soon to go into labor. So I offered her to stay. She is a difficult person to be around, but she's my mother and she still has about 7 more weeks until she's able to go back to being on her own. Second, I have no problem with my son's girlfriend. I actually would be happy if he chose to settle down with her in the future. I want to welcome her in my home. She had been coming over and basically a part of the family for months now up until this. And now my son says she thinks we don't want her around anymore. I can see why people are saying I am the asshole after reading through. I still am unsure how to go about this still. People are saying I should invite her over and tell my mom that she will not say anything out of the norm to her or else I'll send her off. But people are also saying I should not bring her over knowing it's a possibility that my mother will do something anyway. Kicking my mother to curb for now is not an option, but I will privately tell his girlfriend the situation and ask her what she would like to do and make arrangements from there. Also, people are calling my son an asshole for wanting her to come over because of this. I am okay with being criticized on here, but please do not shame my son. I think he is just getting anxious because him and her don't go to the same school and the only way they see each other at my house because my son says her father is very overprotective and intimidates him every time he goes to her house. I do understand I was going about this in a very easy way by just doing what my mother says for the time being because I did not want to start drama. But she is the bad guy in the situation and she is the one who needs to change, and I should not be accommodating her prejudice ways, and my son or his girlfriend should not have to suffer because of her. Thanks for all the advice. You are the asshole. My mother is so elderly and feeble that she will go on 2-hour rants about how much she's a proud bigot. Man, I never even went on a 2-hour squealing when I got Pokémon for the first time. Your son is right. You'd rather defend your bigot mother rather than go, "Hey, shut up and get over it." Definitely you are the asshole. Sorry, but protecting a racist does make you complacent and enabling this behavior. You have no gumption to get her to leave, and 70 isn't old, she can get in home care. I would send her racist ass packing. So your mother, who is in your house, gets to say who can and cannot come to your house because they will disturb her. Your son and wife is right. You are just as guilty as your mother. You are a complacent racist and enabling your mother's bigot behavior. Your mother can stay and eat in her room. She doesn't get to dictate who comes into your house. Grow a pair. And if it wasn't obvious, you are the asshole. Am I the asshole for how I responded when my fiancé's sister commented on my flat-chest? To get this out of the way, I'm a flat-chested girl. I suffered from health issues and growth problems, so I'm small, but I'm proud of myself. My fiancé and I went over to his parents' house for his niece's birthday. I wore a sweetheart-shaped dress and my sil, Mel, who always comments on my chest, saw the dress and went like, "This dress needs boobs. You ain't got any." I ignored her, but then at dinner she asked if I was planning on getting a plastic surgery before the wedding so that I don't ruin the wedding dress. I found this offensive, especially when others were watching. I said nothing, but when we were sitting in the living room later, Mel suddenly started wiping her nose and trying to clear it. It's stuffed due to cold apparently. She has a large nose, so I smiled and asked, "Do you need help with that? I could get the plunger for you." She was stunned and the room got awkward after her husband was laughing. She was fuming and told my fiancé that I stepped out of line and ruined her daughter's birthday with my words that humiliated her. My fiancé said I shouldn't have caused a scene after his parents told us to leave. I explained how her comments made me feel, but she said it was out of concern, but my comment was out of hate. Now she's exoecting an apology. Did I go too far here? Where are you women getting these men that wouldn't stand up for you against their family bullying? You might want to consider the relationship. Woman shrugging medium dark skin tone. Woman shrugging medium dark skin tone. Not the asshole, by the way. She deserved every bit that came to her. Your man is an asshole, though. An apology for what? Not the asshole. Did your fiancé actually say her comments about your chest were out of concern? I think you should postpone this engagement if that's how he really feels. Good on you for getting her back, because it's horrible for someone to comment on someone else's body. I'm sorry, what? Her comments about your flat chest are out of concern. That is an impossibly stupid defense. You are not the asshole, and also hilarious. Not the asshole. That wasn't concern, LMAO. Am I the asshole for calling my sister cruel for her tattoo idea? Sis is 28, I'm 26. My sis N has always had a strained relationship with our parents, especially my mom. I am clearly not privy to the reasons because things are fine with me and my parents. When N went to college, she met her creative writing professor as a freshman and they got close immediately. They would do a lot together and worked closely on a few different writing projects. N never specifically said this, but it was obvious to anyone who saw them interact that they had a substitute mother-daughter type relationship. Which hurt my mom a lot to see. I always thought she'd grow out of it or that the professor would move on, but 10 years later they were still very close. About a month ago the professor died unexpectedly and it devastated N. She was really depressed over the holidays, which of course was all in front of my mom and was a difficult reminder that N loved the professor as a mother way more than she ever loved my mom as a mother. She still talks to my parents and stuff and they don't fight or anything, but N is very distant and doesn't tell them anything about her life beyond the bare minimum. My mom tried to comfort N, but N was doing her distant thing and didn't want comfort. Something unfortunate that happened to N is that when she got the call that she died, she was brewing tea and in the shock of the news she spilled boiling water on her arm, which burned her kinda badly on her wrist. I think the burn was like on the borderline of 2nd and 3rd degree, and definitely still looked pretty rough during the holidays. N said it was especially hard because in addition to the physical pain, every time she looks at it she is reminded of the moment she found out the professor died. Which I totally get. I was on FaceTime with N and she said she talked to her tattoo artist friend who said that the burn should be able to heal well enough to get a tattoo over it. And then excitedly told me about her idea, which is a type of flower that the professor gave her a bouquet of for her undergrad graduation. My mom was so embarrassed that day because she didn't get N flowers but the professor did, and N was parading them around so happy, and it was a reminder of their connection. I guess N and the professor exchanged these flowers for every special occasion like birthdays etc. So now she wants to get a decent-sized tattoo in a highly visible spot of something that will remind everyone of the professor. I told N that this seemed really cruel to my mom, who already feels cast aside and like she's in exile from N, and that's without the constant permanent reminder. N kind of scoffed and said, "I can't believe you think you have the right to tell me not to do this," called me an ass and hung up, and is still not talking to me except for a very brief text saying congrats for a promotion I just got. My parents aren't commenting. My dad said I should have just kept quiet even though he agrees, and my mom made no comment but seemed grateful I stood up for her. I feel like I was just being protective of my mom. But am I the asshole? What you have described is the golden child and the scapegoat child. You being the golden child. And didn't get what she needed from her own mother and was incredibly fortunate that another stepped in and took on that role. Take your blinders off and see. Ask your sister if she felt second best growing up, and be open, and silent. When, and to what, she tells you. Yes. You are the asshole. Edit. So many scapegoats checking in. Many hugs to you all. You are the asshole. Mind your business. Your mom being embarrassed because she forgot to buy her daughter flowers is her own damn problem. We can all tell you were mommy's golden child from this post. Your poor sister. You are the asshole. It's okay if you and your sister have different relationships with your mom. Trying to make your sister see your mom just like you do is not going to work. Am I the asshole for posting the reasons that I excluded some people from my child-free wedding? My sister got married last summer. She had a very elegant and beautiful wedding and reception planned. It was child-free. She sent gracious note to everyone who sent their regrets and thanked them for understanding her desires for her wedding and respecting them enough to RSVP in the negative. She also invited them to a party later that summer at her home if they wanted to take pictures with her and her wedding party in their fancy clothes. I thought it was well handled and classy. Several people did not understand the meaning of child-free, and brought their kids anyways. One screamed through the ceremony and the mom would not leave the chapel because she did not want to cause a fuss. There were no problem extra places for them at the reception, so their parents had to share their food with them. The worst was the kid that wanted a cupcake off the table the wedding cake was on. He tipped the wedding cake onto the floor. My dad saved it, but there was a handprint on the lowest tier and a lot of cupcakes hit the floor. All in all, it was 4 families that brought uninvited children. My wedding invitations just went out over Christmas. We are getting married in May. I know this is a long time, but we have a lot of out-of-town, country, and even continent guests we hope will come. We did not invite these families to our wedding. We have a Facebook group for the wedding for people to share pictures and memories that we might put in the wedding video. They found out about the group and posted to my personal page about being excluded and asking why we are not inviting them. I messaged them privately and asked them to take down their posts and explained that my wedding was smaller and I wasn't having as many guests as my sister. They went public again and bitched about me excluding them for no good reason. So I posted the receipts. I posted a video my cousin sent me of the kid crying during the ceremony and the parents doing nothing. The video of the kid freaking out because he had to share trout for supper. The before and after pictures of the wedding cake table. And I also asked if they knew in advance that they were not supposed to bring their kids to the wedding. Then everyone started piling on to them. I guess there was a lot of stuff I missed. Including one of them changing a kid on the table with the guest book because the closest bathroom did not have a baby station. Now they are all calling me an asshole for embarrassing them for having children and wanting to be part of family events. I said that they could not understand why rules were in place and that is why they were not invited. My uncle posted about how embarrassed he was that his daughter was one of these entitled jerks and offered to pay my sister for the cake that got wrecked. He had been unable to attend and hadn't heard about the cake. So am I the asshole? Can I get an invite to that Facebook group? I'm bored. Not the asshole. They tried to call you out publicly for making a decision about your wedding, and you just met them where they were. They sound horrible. No wonder you don't want them at your wedding. Not the asshole. They tried to publicly shame you for not inviting them, when they could have just messaged you privately and avoided the embarrassment. They don't get to try to publicly embarrass someone only to then get upset when it gets turned right back around on them, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That they're in the midst of all of this still trying to justify why they brought their kids despite explicitly being asked not to only underlines even more that you did the right thing. Though a bit of advice, you may want to consider having some bouncers at the door to your ceremony and reception should they try to crash. Judging from all of this, it seems like that's at least a possibility.